Hey guys, welcome to the Practical Printer, and today we're going to be doing what I call a practical print. It's basically going to be a step-by-step process, everything I'm going through to do a functional print on my 3D printer. What we're going to be working on today is this dollhouse right here, and we got this pretty discount on Facebook Marketplace because it does have a couple broken parts to it. I'm going to take you over to it. I'll show you kind of what's broken and the way it operates, and then I'm going to go through the entire process of how I actually repair this using my 3D printer. It is going to be a lot of steps over a lot of different topics, so I am going to divide it up into different sections that'll come out as I get them finished. But by the end of it, we should have a very detailed breakdown of how to print just about anything that you're capable of making from start to finish. It is a very basic, simple design, so it's something I'm able to do. I'm not trained in any kind of CAD program. This is something that is used for very basic shapes. So in this step, we're going to figure out exactly what we need, get some measurements, and then we are going to work up the part in a CAD program online. And the program I'm using is very simple. It's something that a lot of schools use in their STEM programs to teach younger kids how to do this. So it's very easy to pick up on. It doesn't take too awful long. It is for very basic shapes, but for a lot of the stuff that I do, I'm not making beautiful models, anything that needs a whole lot of detail. Basic shapes, stuff like this is going to work great for the type of printing that I do where I'm just making up quick fixes for things. But let's go ahead and take a look and see what needs to be done. Okay, so this is a sneak peek at what this is supposed to look like when it's completed. And these little brackets on the bottom are what we're working on. Unfortunately, this right here is the only thing that I was able to recover, so this is going to be what we're going to be basing those off of, which won't be too bad. We'll be able to get the measurements. There's only about half of it here, but we'll be able to use that to figure out the other half and go ahead and get it worked up in the program. So with this part, we know we've got this long rectangle here. This is actually supposed to be attached here, and then you have the same length coming out the other side, which will give you your final piece. So what we're going to do is kind of a rough drawing of what this is supposed to look like. And that's where we'll write our measurements down for it. And I am not an artist, but that is okay. You don't need to be for this. So that's going to be basically the top view. Then we have our side view. And then in this case, we're going to do a bottom view as well. That's not always necessary, but on this one, you can tell from the way that the wood is set up that there was a wider hole at the very bottom, and that is for a recessed screw where you screw it into the actual wall that we're putting it on. So we are going to just get our measurements and write them down where we need them. What I use is this little caliper from Amazon. It's pretty cheap, but it's accurate enough for anything we're going to be doing. I will include a link to this in the description in case you want to pick one up, but they are available at Harbor Freight, Walmart, anywhere else like that as well. But we are just going to turn this on, make sure it is set to 0, and you do want to make sure that you are measuring in millimeters. That is what pretty much all of this stuff uses. And we are just going to get our measurements. First, we're going to do the length from one side to the center, and I'm going to try and avoid getting in that hole so I get a more precise measurement of what the actual center is. I'm getting 101.6. I do believe that if you double that, that's 203.2. And the max area I can really print on my bed well, especially if I'm going to be doing several of these, is 200. So since this is not an exact part, that can be a little bit shorter. We are going to have this length be 200. The thickness on it we'll get next is 6.5. That's going to be this measurement right here, 6.5. The actual width is 14.4, this measurement. And then we will try and compare all of this here. And this where it's broken up is hard to get a completely accurate reading. I honestly don't even think these are from the same piece, but they're the closest thing we've got, so we might have to go in and tinker with this just a little bit, but we are getting 10.5, and that is going to be the measurement from the very bottom up to the top is 10.5. And this is the same width, so we won't need to change that up at all, but across 11.9. Next, we're going to measure the screw hole size. To do that, we'll use the opposite end of our calipers here, which are to measure inside dimensions. That is right at 4 millimeters for that top hole. And then the bottom one, you can't see too much of it, so this is going to be kind of a rough estimate, 8.2. So those should be the measurements that we need. Now that we've got it written down, we'll move over to the computer and we will show you that CAD program. We'll go ahead and start getting it worked up on there. Okay, so now that we've got our measurements, we're over here at the computer, and as you can see, I've got that software pulled up I was talking about. It is actually a website you'll get to called tinkercad.com. Once again, you'll create a quick profile and it will take you to this main screen right here, and we're just going to hit create new design. And while we're working on this, I will try and leave a picture of the drawing that we did earlier in the corner so that we can keep an eye on the measurements and kind of follow along with what we're doing. But what you see in front of you now that you've gotten into your workspace is going to be your work plane, which is this right here. And this is basically going to be your tabletop or the bed of the printer, however it helps for you to view it. Over in this corner, you can see it's basically a cube, and this is just going to allow you to move and drag around to see different parts, and you can just click and it will automatically take you to those sections as well. Different people like to work from different areas. I tend to work mostly from the top, but I will move it around as we go so I can get a better look at certain areas. That is how you use that feature. Over on this side, you have just different shapes that you can use that are already created. That's basically what we're going to be doing on this. If you look at that drawing, it's basically what we're drawing is a long skinny rectangle with a square sitting on top of it. So that's basically what we will do is we will bring a box out right here, and you can see you have the option of whether it's a solid or a hole. The hole we will get to a little bit later when we're actually putting that hole in the center for the screw to pass through. For this part, we're going to leave it as a solid. We're going to come down, and your length you can drag, or you can actually click here and enter. So we decided the length was going to be 200 millimeters. The width is going to be 14.4, and then your height is going to be the 6.5. We can move this around to center it. You can see if we drag this around, you can see that gives us the full length of that rectangle that we were talking about. Okay, now that we have that set up the way we want it, we are going to grab another block, and this is going to be for the top square. We're going to set that roughly in the middle. We'll center it a little bit better here in a minute, but just get it so it is roughly center line. And then we're going to come in. We have our length is 11.9. Our width is going to be the same as the other part, which is 14.4. And then our height is going to be the 10.5 that we measured on there. Now if you drag this, this is in general our piece. So now that we've got both of these in and measured, we're going to want to get them centered on each other. And what you'll do is just drag and hold over, which will select both shapes. You see two shapes, then you'll come up here to the align tool. So you can either align with the end, align on the center point, align on the other end. So we want it aligned here. This is not selected because it is the same width, so that's not going to be an issue. Now that we have all that set up and centered, we're going to put that screw hole in. And the way you're going to do that is come over to this cylinder, and you're going to drop it right in the center. And then the measurements for this are a little bit different. You're not going to put them in right here. You're going to find how you want to measure it, which in our case where we did the measurement across, we're going to click right here, and we decided that that top hole was going to be 4 millimeters by 4 millimeters. A hole isn't going to matter if it sticks up higher than the actual part because it is a hole. And to align it, you can select your hole, hold shift to select your square. That will select both of those, and then you'll hit align. And again, we're going to do the center this way, and then that hole is perfectly centered. This little cylinder part that sticks above, you can lower that down if you want to. As long as it is at the top, then it's going to be fine. It could be up here, it could be down there. As long as it's not below that line, because then you will end up not having a hole in that top part. So as long as it is there, it is good. Now we do have the one last hole, which is going to be that recessed hole on the bottom. We are going to bring another circle here, and we decided that that one is going to be 8.2 millimeters by 8.2. And then you're going to center this one the exact same way. It is going to select it and shift, select that square and hit align. That's going to allow you to align to the center and the bottom. There you go. Now this is going to be a little bit different because we don't want this larger hole going all the way through the piece. So we are going to click on it and lower it down. And this is a measurement we did not take before, but we can always grab that piece again and do that measurement real quick, which came out to 3.3 millimeters. So we are just going to go ahead and change this measurement to 3.3. And now that hole is good. That is our final product. It should be the sizes that we need. And as you can see, it's basically just adding shapes together. This is something you have to play around with, but honestly, this is only my second time ever using it. And there's a lot of availability online for how this works. So now that we have it, we're going to come up here to change name. Tinkercad adds just random names into stuff, but we're going to call this the Dollhouse wall fix. And then to actually save it, we are going to come to export, which is going to be download and 3D print. And we want to save this as an STL file for the Ender 3 Pro that I use. If you're making things for a Cricut or another kind of laser cutter, SVG, some other printers use these two, but mine, everything I work with, uses STL. And then that file was downloaded. So we are done here. In the next video, we're going to actually move this over into our slicer program. If you have any questions before then, go ahead and comment on this video. If you're finding any value in this video, go ahead and hit that like button so that I know to keep these videos up, and subscribe so you can catch the next video when it comes out.